In this lesson, we'll learn how to collaborate and comment on designs. After completing this lesson, you'll be able to show how to promote a version, use Fusion 360 in a web browser, create a share link, and describe how to view details on the web. Fusion 360 has a lot of great functionality built in terms of just CAD modeling in general. But because all of our files are stored on the cloud and we have some great collaboration type platforms, we want to make sure that we understand the process of collaborating, but also some of the data that goes along with that. So right now we have this file, bodies and components that we were working on, contains a couple components, has some motion, and let's just say that we wanted to work with somebody on this file. So let's figure out how we could do that and different options that we have in Fusion 360. The first thing that I want to explore is creating comments. And in the bottom left-hand section of our canvas area, we have the comments window. So inside of here, we have a few things of note. We have an option to take a screenshot, and capturing this image will not only just take a screenshot, but it'll also capture the position of it. So for example, if we want to focus in on some detail, I'm going to zoom in, rotate the view, and then we'll select capture image. Notice the image is displayed here. And we're going to add a comment here that's just basically says, what do you think of the hub? So if you're working on a team and you really want somebody to focus in on a certain area of the design, we can do things like grab these screenshots and add this information. It can also just be a place to store ideas or pertinent information to the design. For example, maybe this design needs a bearing. So if we have basic information about the bearing, we could place it here in a comment. So now we have bearing is 10 by 10 by 2, and again, just a great place to save that information. Note that this information is saved and it is based on a version. It says V2 in here. Now if we rotate our file, move it around, we go back to this comment, notice that we have a click to view here. If we left click on it, it brings up a snapshot and it shows us the view that we had. It shows us the version, and we can do things like make it true size, we can fit to screen, and then we can close this as well. So where does this information go? Is this contained within the file? Can anybody else see this? Well, when we're talking about these files, we have a few things that we need to note. When we're creating a file, we can collaborate on a file by inviting users to our project. If we go to our data panel, there's a data section and there's also a people section. We can add email addresses and add people to our project. But note that when we do that, they will have full access to the files contained within that project. So not necessarily just this subfolder, but our entire generative design specialization project. So make sure when you do this that you invite people you trust. Now there are certain permissions and things that can be controlled within a team hub, but we're not going to get into team hubs here in this course. We're mainly going to be focusing on generative design and the application of some of our basic modeling tools that we'll need. So in addition to having people on a project, we can also share links and share designs on the web. So there are a couple different ways that we can do this. With the design open in Fusion 360, we can go to File, and we have View Details on the web, which will allow us to open this in a browser, and we have a Share option. This allows us to post it to GrabCAD or the Fusion 360 gallery. We can launch a screencast recorder, and we can also share a public link. If we share a public link, we can turn this option on, and we can allow it to be downloaded. When we allow the item to be downloaded, the user will be able to select a Fusion archive file or some other file such as an IGES or even an inventor part file. So this is one way that we can share this information, and you can turn off the download link and allow them just to view it on the web. We can also view it on the web ourselves by going to View Details on the web, or by expanding the version inside of our data panel and selecting View Details on the web here. So let's take a look at what this looks like on the web in Fusion Team. Inside of Fusion Team on the web, you'll notice that we don't have component color cycling like we do in Fusion 360. We do still have some basic navigation tools. We can use our view cube in the right-hand corner. We can use some of our navigation tools in the bottom section, as well as things like markup and placing comments. We can create a comment on a point, for example here, and notice that it captures the image, and we can say, I like the hub. Then we can post that comment. Now again, this information is all contained within the file. It tells you who placed it, when it was placed. It's directly related to this point. So as we look at this design, we can rotate it around and we can hover over that, and we can see that this is the third comment on the file. It says, I like this. We can also open up that comment thread. So up here, we can open comments. We can see all the comments that were created directly in the file. We can have it rotate specifically to that view. We can see the note, the bearing is 10 by 10 by 2. And then we can also see this view here. When we click on it, it navigates to that view and it brings the comment up on screen because we place it on a point. So this information is all contained directly in here and can be viewed on the web or directly in Fusion 360. There are also options to see the older versions. For example, we can go back and take a look at version 1. We can overview or promote this if we need to directly here from Fusion Team. We can also go back a little bit farther and we can view all the files that are inside of this lesson inside of our project. It tells us when it was updated, and it allows us to do things like download it and pick the file that we want. We can see multiple versions and we can move things around. You'll also notice that bodies and components tells me that it's in use by me. It has a red dot next to it, and it tells me that it's currently open in Fusion 360. So if we select Basic Sketching Practice, and we view the information about this, this one's not currently open, but as we look at this, it tells us if it's been used in other files, if there's a detailed drawing, if there's a share link turned on, the versions, if there's any comments, and all this information is contained here. We can also use the option to edit the design. We can edit on desktop, which opens it in Fusion 360, or we can use this edit in browser. Now, this is an extremely handy functionality because this means that you can do some basic CAD operations without actually being in a computer that has Fusion 360 installed. When this connects, it doesn't have full functionality that you have in the desktop version of Fusion 360, but it does open the same file. It shows you all the features in the timeline, and it gives you access to the browser, the sketches, as well as the creation of new sketches and sketch entities. For example, if I wanted to create a new sketch and a new feature, maybe I wanted to remove some material here. I can stop the sketch. I can create and extrude from that. And again, sometimes it can be hard to select geometry. We might need to hide or remove some geometry. You can see that I can select this here, I can drag it up, and I can remove material. You can see that I've made some changes to this file. Now if I save the file, I can go back into Fusion 360 and these changes will be contained in the sketches and the features in the timeline. So this is all a great way to work with this data collaboratively. We can work with it on the web, we can use some of this browser CAD functionality, the commenting, and all the information in terms of collaborating with other users, whether or not they're sitting next to you at another desk or somewhere halfway across the world. Back in Fusion 360, you'll note that the data panel tells me it's been updated. So we're going to go ahead and refresh that. We're going to open up the basic sketching practice, the one that I opened on the web. So you'll notice here, again, the sketch and the feature that I created in Browser CAD's automatically updated here as well. A new version was created and saved, so now I have version 3. Let's say that I didn't like the version that was done here. Version 3 isn't really what I was intending. I can take version 2, I can promote it, it'll make a new version 4, and now that information that was created in Browser CAD is still there, it's still contained in the file in version 3, but now I'm back to the point where I was before without any additional sketches or features. So because of this functionality, because all of our files are saved on the cloud, because we have some great collaborative tools, and we can share these files, we can invite people to projects, we can even do some CAD in a browser, we can really expand our horizon in terms of working on these designs with other people within our group, locally or again across the globe. At this point, I urge you to make sure that you play around with some of these options, you view your files on the web, and you take a look at them, play around with some browser CAD functionality, make some comments, make sure you get a good idea and understanding of where this information is contained, how you can access it, and really what goes along with these files. Once you're done with that, go ahead and save your files and make sure you move along to the next step.